this house of love. Yes, what a true blessing it is. The blessing of this building that surrounds us, the blessing of the place that we call Anchorage, Alaska, the world, our community, and the most important place that we call this house of love is here in our hearts. As we join together in harmony, in song, in sound, and in this wonderful message of unity that Kaleem has for us today. Please join me in affirming, and so it is. This morning, our candle lighting ceremony looks a little different. Today, we acknowledge the African American celebration and holiday of Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is a cultural holiday celebrating family, community, and culture. It's celebrated for 7 days and starts today, December 26th, and goes through January 1st. It is based upon 7 principles symbolized by 7 candles. The candles are lit cumulatively for each day until all candles are lit on the 7th day. Today, we will light 1 candle for the first day of Kwanzaa. And please join me in honoring Joan, who has said yes to lighting our candles today. The first candle is Emoja, unity. To strive for and to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, race, and with all of humanity. We will not be lighting the remaining candles at this time. However, the second candle is Kujija Gulia. It means self-determination. To define ourselves, name ourselves, create and speak for ourselves. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. To build and maintain our community together and make our brothers and sisters' challenges our challenges, and to stand together to solve them. Ujima, cooperative economics. To build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses and to profit from them together. Niha, purpose. To make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Kumba, creativity. To always do as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. And Imani, faith. Imani is to believe with all our hearts in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. Thank you, Joan. We thank you for lighting our candles for today's service and acknowledging the beautiful celebration of Kwanzaa. Please join me in our purpose, vision, and mission. Our purpose, our reason for being. We awaken and inspire love and oneness. Our vision, what do we want to create? What do we want to become? We are an empowered, uplifting, inclusive community. And our mission, how are we going to go about doing this? We teach spiritual transformation with grace and joy. Good job, Judy. Today's sacred reading comes from a couple of different places. They are excerpts from our founder of Centers for Spiritual Living, Ernest Holmes, and the founder of Kwanzaa, Maulana Karenga. What We Believe by Ernest Holmes. We believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. We believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. We believe in the direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature, and that anyone may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. We believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind. We believe in the healing of the sick and control of conditions through the power of this mind. 2021 Kwanzaa Founders Statement by Maulana Karenga. The principle and practice of Umoja, unity, teaches an ever-expanding sense of self through our sense of oneness with others and the world. With others, we are fellow human beings with obligations of mutual respect, reciprocal solidarity, and cooperation for common good. And in our relationship with the world, we are world beings, deeply embedded in the natural as well as social world, interrelated, interdependent, and unavoidably responsible for the health, wholeness, and well-being of both. I'm going to read that one more time. The principle and practice of Umoja, unity, teaches an ever-expanding sense of self through our sense of oneness with others and the world. With others, we are fellow human beings with obligations of mutual respect, reciprocal solidarity, and cooperation for common good. And in our relationship with the world, we are world beings, deeply embedded in the natural as well as social world, interrelated, interdependent, and unavoidably responsible for the health, wholeness, and well-being of both. And so it is.
Let there be less of me, let there be more of thee, less of the human, more of the divine, less that belongs to me, more that is thine, more of God's nature, and less that is mine. Order and harmony now are in place. Where there is harmony, discord will cease. Where there is harmony, there will be peace. Personality, individuality, more of the spirit self shining through me. Teach me humility, let me your servant be. Give me serenity, selfless and free. Order and harmony now are in place. Where there is harmony, discord will cease. Where there is harmony, there will be peace. Let there be less of me, let there be more of thee, less of the human, more of the divine, less of the human, more of the divine.
Thank you. That helps to get from one place to the other. My name is Karen Valera Sherman. I am one of the licensed practitioners here at the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. Welcome both online and here. We didn't think that it was going to be anyone else, and then all of a sudden, 8 people came into the building, all kind of at once, and what a joyous exclamation point that was. It's wonderful to see all of you, because here in Anchorage, if you're not from Anchorage, the roads are a little icy and it's a little dark outside. And so traveling this morning, that was a wonderful symbol of your dedication and love to be here. So one of the things that we love to do as practitioners is to pray. Yes. And is there one way to pray? No, there are many ways to receive prayer. That's right, Joan. So one of the ways that you can receive prayer, if you are here in the building, is from myself, Kaleem, Ann, Bob, or Judy. We would love to sit down for a 1-minute miracle, or another word that we like to use is Om, to celebrate with you or to know the truth for you if you are having a heavy heart. Either way, we would love to pray with you. You also can put a prayer in the prayer box that's right here as you walk in the door, and I will send that out, and we will know the truth for you all week and beyond, because once the prayer is put out, does it ever go away? No, it never goes away. The collective mind is always working for your highest good. And you can also call here, and Rev Dawn will support you by either contacting one of us or pray with you right away. You can leave a message. And also online, you can just click a button, right? Click. And it'll take you right to filling out a prayer request, and Rev Linda will send those out to us. So there are many ways that we can support you in receiving prayer. And I will definitely be writing my own prayer for the healing of my back today that all of a sudden decided to be unkind and wanted a little bit more attention this morning. Okay. For announcements, things that you can say yes to. The World Healing Meditation via Zoom. You can go to the website. It's on Friday morning from 3 to 3:40 a.m. So what I like to say is, it is not the New Year's Eve going into the New Year. It is the day before. It actually is happening on the morning of New Year's Eve. That means on the 30th is when you're going to set your alarm, right, Kaleem? To wake up early, so that, because many people will be like, oh, I thought it was. So this is why I'm being specific about this. It is Thursday night. You set your alarm for early Friday morning, okay? And you can pray in unity at the same time as people all around the world. This just happens to be our time for Alaska. Is there any other opportunities, Anne, that I am missing? Okay, perfect.
Oh, oneness prayer?
Yes. Every first and third Saturday, which means that it will be this New Year's morning. I think I'll be joining for that, Kaleem. Thank you for that reminder. So New Year's morning at 9 o'clock?
10 a.m. Alaska time.
10 a.m. Alaska time, you can join. And that is on our website, right?
Right. It's on our website. It'll be the same one we do for World Healing.
Okay. So if you're there doing the World Healing, it's the same Zoom link. So, and it also is on our website. Okay, before our going into our special music, Kaleem, I want to give you a little bit information about. So, in the practitioner world, we call Kaleem our dad, because the reason why we do that is, and there's a special reason why I'm telling you all of this, because Kaleem has been a dad to many, not just to us as practitioners for over 26 years. He has said yes to giving us all of his learning and wisdom, while also growing and expanding in his own light, because that's what we as practitioners do. We are not suddenly perfect beings. We are still human beings doing our own growing and learning, and we've just chosen to say yes to growing and learning in front of you and being vulnerable in that. And so Not only is Kaleem dad to about 14 practitioners, I think it is, Kaleem also has a total of 9 children. Did any of you know that? 9 children. He has raised 3 from childhood to adulthood, and many have come into Kaleem's life as teenagers or young adults. And those children he calls children of his heart. So that means 6 children have been children of his heart, along with his 3, I'm sure, that are also children of his heart. So that's a little bit about Kaleem, who will be doing a wonderful message for us about Kwanzaa.
Heaven is open to you. Find a way to open your heart. You're so much more than you do. Find a way to open your heart. Open your heart. Always, you are God's instrument. Always, you are enough. Always, heaven is waiting right here. See now the whole world anew. Find a way to open your heart. Whatever's happened to you, find a way to open your heart. Open your heart. Always, you are God's instrument. Always, you are enough. Always, heaven is waiting right here. We're all God's sons and sons. Find a way to open your heart. See now we all are as one. Find a way to open your heart. Open your heart. Always, you are God's instrument. Always, you are enough. Always, heaven is waiting right here. Heaven is waiting right here.
Thank you, Aaron and our choir. What a perfect song, Open Your Heart. Good morning. All right. On a wonderful frosty morning here in Alaska. And I want to thank you for joining us for our topic. Our annual topic today, of course, is on Kwanzaa. Thank you, Karen, for reading a wonderful description of it. And also Joan for lighting our first candle for today. All right. And I'm going to tell you a sort of a Zen type story. Okay? There was because speaking of family, right, there was a gentleman who had his young son who was very in love with. You know, it's very important to stay in alignment with the camera. All right, so as you know, when you're trying to be a conscious parent and your heart is really open to being a parent, then you try to spend as much precious time as you possibly can with your children. Because those who raise children, we know how fleeting time goes. You know, one blink of eye, they're born. Second blink of eye, they're adolescents. And 3 or 4 blinks later, they're graduating from something and out of your life, right? Or back into your life. Depends how many blinks you're blinking. Right? But in this case, this child is still very young. And so every day after work, this father was dedicated to reading a story or playing family games or some type of physical activity with his son. Every single day. So his son was habitually knew that when Dad comes home, we're going to have fun. Well, this particular day, however, Dad was so overwhelmed with work, he was going to bring work home. I guess today he could stay home with it, right? But he was overwhelmed, so the time period he normally set aside to have fun with his son, he was just overwhelmed. So he said, I know what I'll do. I'll tear out this page in the magazine of the world, right? Since we often do maps and puzzles and et cetera, right? I'll cut them into small pieces. Then when I get home, I'll have him to say, I have an assignment for you, son. Before we get together, you're going to put together a puzzle of the world. Oh, he was so excited. because the father figured I'd take about 40 minutes or so, give me a chance, right, to finish my job. So he gave him some Scotch tape and these cut up pieces of the magazine of the world, and he gave it to him to play with. He figured it'd take about 40 minutes or so. His son was back in about 20 minutes. He goes, Dad, I'm finished. He says, no, son, you have to put all the pieces together. Dad, I finished. You're finished with putting all those pieces of the world together? Yes, Dad. Okay, let me see. How'd you do it? See, here it is. It was all together, as the son had declared. He says, how did you do that? His son said, it's simple. My topic today okay, is on Kwanzaa. And of course, my topic is, I am, we are the world. And what I wanted to do is take a few moments of our time today to talk about the principles of Kwanzaa, which are universal principles, and how they mesh with this science of living principles that we practice every day to help put the world back together again, when it could appear like we're fragmented and cut up in pieces. And the idea you're going to find, for those of you who've been studying any type of spirituality, the concept is simple. Okay? Malanga Karinga, the creator of Kwanzaa, has put together Kwanzaa as a celebration. He was a young man in his 20s back in 1966. Matter of fact, this year is the 55th year celebration of Kwanzaa. Right? And as he was giving his annual statement that Karen wrote an excerpt of, he reminded us of some of the things that we're going through as a world. And I'm sure many of us will relate to this. Obviously, we're in the middle of a historic pandemic that we call COVID-19. And we know it has affected us in so many different ways, in addition to the horrible loss of life. Also, we're discovering, as we keep rolling along with it, we're discovering new variants of it. And it also has potentially long-term effects on health. It also has affected our economic life, a heavy impact, our relationships. And many of us now are working from home. Who would have guessed, for many of us who've been out of the office, and I'm in human services, a face-to-face human service business. We've been working virtually for almost going on 2 years. Who could have imagined? He also says we're also in a historical experience of a challenge in democracy. And he looked at what happened in January at our nation's capital, as well as the divide politically. And this fraction also appeared with the pandemic, and whether we should take a shot or not take a shot, mask or not mask, and all these things that go on that appear to be dividing us. I mentioned the failed economy, the challenged economy, the continuing conflict around the world and the famines that are going on. And of course, in the environment. We know here in Alaska, we have ice caps that are melting that had not melted in tens of thousands of years. There's a continuing of the Amazon forest in South America. Climate change, the raising of the melting on the north and the raising of water all around the planet Earth, rising sea levels. Species coming and going, increased pollution, disappearance I mentioned the Arctic ice, and also we literally have islands that are disappearing before our very eyes. These are a lot of things going on in our world. The world seems to be torn in pieces with all the political divide, medical divide, family divides, and etc. The world seems to be fractured. Therefore, what typically happens, like Ernest Holmes, and thank you for reading the principles of some of the extra principles of Science of Mind, anytime there's a national challenge, as it happened in the history of African Americans, there's something within us that rises up with a solution. So I do remind us, though, with all the tragedies we talked about, there's also 1,000 points of light in every community. There are people who are choosing to look for the good in all that's happening. Because why? There's something that rises up inside of us, okay, that brings out and reminds us that we need to affirm the good in the midst of the darkness. We need to be the light. That's wonderful. We have these wonderful holiday celebrations, whether it's solstice, which is a beautiful celebration we had recently, the Christmas celebration, the Kwanzaa celebration, all these different Hanukkah, all these different celebrations of light. Something always rises up within us to bring out the light in the middle of darkness. And we do have people who are coming together now, even in our very nation, and crossing the political divide and saying enough is enough. What is the good for, not for the party, but for the people of the United States of America, a united country. And we do have communities coming together. I saw something very beautiful continually happen in Alaska. Apparently a person was having a problem with their automobile, and people just stopped as usual. Alaskans always do, to help each other. How many times have I gone to the store, and I had the opportunity, I should say myself, after Stevie's talk she did a couple weeks ago, and I had the opportunity to anonymously purchase someone a meal when I was at a restaurant a few weeks ago. Just out of the kindness of my heart and the kindness of our hearts, this is happening all over across America. Just today, recently in our community, a lady was a school district employee, it was in the newspaper, was working, and her car got broken or stolen, and all of her Christmas gifts were taken away. And she was a teacher assistant, so it wasn't like she had a great salary. And the community came to her aid so overwhelmingly, she then had to end up giving some of the gifts away to the shelters and et cetera. Because why? People created GoFundMes for her. The police department, I think the fire department brought gifts by here. It was just overwhelming. The goodness of our hearts, the light in the middle of darkness. And we do know there are those of us who are dealing with climate change. We're looking for the good in how we can do that. Some of us, the automobile industry are transitioning from certain type of fuels to automobiles that don't require to burn that much fuel. And all type of, we have different light bulbs now in our household fixtures. We need all type of things that we're doing as a rising up from within us to respond to the challenge, what's happening in our environment. So with that, along with the challenge, therefore, the same thing happened with Maulana Karenga back in 1966. Based on African American history and experiences, and what happened in the middle of slavery, it was a very scientific and methodological way of how do you take human beings and enslave them. So it was very scientifically how you affect their minds by breaking up their languages, for they cannot speak to each other, do not allow them to practice their religion, keep their families broken up so they that natural regeneration of culture does not happen. They did everything possible to make sure we can, how you slave a human being by trying to take away the humanity. And it was against the law to read and to write. Literally, so the government had it against the law. So with all that, and there were many people we know, such as the Martin Luther Kings and many others that I will not name today, I'll be here for the next 5 hours, right? People of light, of every color and every culture, who rose up and said enough is enough. As did Maulana Karenga when he created Kwanzaa as an answer to bringing the culture back together. So he did the research on African history and culture and et cetera, and created this beautiful holiday. And now it's easily available. You can Google it, Kwanzaa, and plethora of information is now available. Wasn't necessarily available even 10 years ago. So let's talk about a couple of the universal principles that we just read, that we believe there's only one Almighty, and that we are at one with it. The first principle of Kwanzaa is unity emoja, oneness. And in today's context, and I'll quote from his annual statement he made recently, he says that unity means an expanded sense of self, not just me as an individual, not just my family, but an expanded sense of recognizing that I'm part of the world of humanity. And not only humanity, but also the natural world. I was blessed with a good friend named Bob Corbin, he loves the outdoors, and he's encouraged me to go outdoors with him. And it's really been an expanded sense of self, because I have a more intimate sense of self with nature as being a living being. And of course, it only fits in logically with our philosophy, the universal idea. If there's only one infinite, then the infinite expresses itself in all that is. Therefore, the infinite also expresses itself as Mother Earth in all its dimensions, whether it's our mineral life, our vegetable life, our animal life, or we as human beings walking around in animal, mammal bodies. right? We're all one with nature and all that is. Self-determination, the second principle, to see yourself and to listen for yourself. Isn't that what we teach here? That we don't believe in dogma. We have these little guidelines, what we believe, right? But we all know we don't necessarily all believe this, right? And this is part of our culture. And the idea is that speak for yourself. Identify the wonderful gift of God that you are, of the infinite, and listen for yourself. And what we find inevitably when we do that, we find common ground. Because we find out that I and we are not the only ones. This is a universal, something entered within us as human beings, that once we go deep, we find that universal gold thread that connects us all. So self-determination. Ujima, collective work and responsibility, urges the acceptance of shared responsibility and work together for the good of the world. For the good, for freedom, justice, and equality, and not only among us as human beings, but also along with us, with our natural earth. Okay, our oneness with it, and being compassionate with ourselves, compassionate with our earth, and the animals and the being thereof. Once again, universal principles. Even in some, recognizing and having compassion for all sentient beings, right? Universal principles of good. Ujama, cooperative economics. The essential value of shared work and shared responsibility and the right of everyone to live a life of dignity and decency. Once again, part of the philosophy of all the major world religions, wanting everybody to live the good life. And in our philosophy, we say a world that works for everyone. The fifth principle, Nia, for purpose, is the ancient teachings of ancient Egypt and Africa as well. And it's all about recognizing that you have an individualized soul, right? There's this one infinite expresses itself in infinite ways and means, and one of the ways it expresses itself is individualized as you and as me. And we each have we are proposing that we each have a purpose and assignments here on earth. For surely humans, ancient African saying, for surely humans have been divinely chosen to bring good into the world. And this fundamental mission and meaning of human life reminds us that we are chosen by history. However, it also says we must also choose to do it. Universal, right? And in the Bible, it's choice, right? So we as human beings, we have individualized will, and it becomes a choice. So what we're encouraged to do, of course, is to make the choice to work for the good not only of ourselves. As Ernest Holmes said, if you don't know what the will of God is, the will of God is the good that whelms up within you that does not harm anyone else, right? Once again, universal principles. Do for others as you have them do unto you, right? Kuumba, the sixth principle, creativity, invites and urges us to work and struggle mightily for our collective communities, society, and the world. And I love this phrase, okay? To whatever you inherit, to make it more beautiful and more beneficial than in which you inherited. Isn't that a wonderful philosophy? I recall when my children were younger, we go travel, and we stay in relatives' homes, is to make sure that we cleaned behind ourselves, to make sure it was even more neater than when we found it. Okay, I remember we used to say that to our children. Remember, this is Kuumba. We got to leave it more beautiful, right? And also, I started practicing in hotels, because the people who come behind us to clean, and sometimes people can just trash hotel rooms. No. Part of Kuumba is to respect that worker who is me. Matter of fact, my actual mother was a domestic worker. So I really honor that in different type of levels, right? But the dignity of every human being. So leave it as neat as possible. And I choose to leave a gratuity for them, right? But the point is that I want to respect not only my environment, but also the human beings that are of service to me. Because we're really, truly all one. More beautiful. And Karinga reminds us, as African philosophies, this is a requirement to constantly, the 3 R's, repair, renew, and remake the world. Once again, universal philosophy, right? Here we talked about the creative law, okay, and how we can come here and make things more beautiful for ourselves, more beneficial for yourself. And the last one is Imani for faith. It teaches and urges us to believe in our people, to believe in the good and notice this, to believe in the good we seek. So have faith that good desires that comes up within us. Have faith that you can also not only be within us, but we can manifest it outer as well, outside of us. And we have the capacity and the shared capacity, and also, this is really beautiful, believe in the coming good of the future that our young people will bring about. The good that our young people will bring about. So heritage is very important. So as the story, as the little story indicates, here's this father so dedicated to his son, because he does know that my son is me, and I want to give him all of me, all the good that I have. And I believe by me doing that, he will also bring about more increased good in my relationship and to the world. So those are kind of the survey of the Kwanzaa principles and how it applies in a universal way. And it kind of reminded me when I was going through that, many of us have studied Thomas Troward. And he has a wonderful book, if you haven't read it yet, and it's Thomas, T-R-O-W-A-R-D, Troward. It's called The Creative Process in the Individual. And you'll find it's no surprise. Focus on the ideal life. Give attention to it. We call that affirmations, correct? We call that visualizations. We call that visioning, asking the infinite present, what is the highest ideal about our situations in life? And you give your attention to it, and you take action toward it. We co-create our life experiences. Once again, universal principles. The science of mind philosophy, Ernest Holmes says, religious science is a correlation of laws of science, opinions of philosophy, and revelations of religion applied to human needs and aspirations. The whole idea of enlightenment, the age of enlightenment, is to recognize that individualized light within each one of us and how we can share it for the greater good. And this is, once again, universal principles. How important is it that we continue to affirm the good and know the good? Well, we do know it takes a village to do what? To raise a child. That's an African proverb that was popularized by Hillary Clinton. She wrote a book by that name, if I'm correct. It takes a village, it takes a community to raise a child. But here's why it's so important, even in the practice of Kwanzaa. You have three ears of corn. I have 3 ears of corn. You have ears of corn that represent the number of children that you raised in your household. But whether you raise children in your household or not, you always have at least 1 ear of corn that reminds you of your collective responsibility for all the children. So in some cultures, a child never feels like they don't have a parent, because why? They have all these uncles and aunts. That kind of happened in my life, right? I became dad, okay? All right, because the village, every adult who has responsibility has a title, and oftentimes it's called uncle, aunt, or in my family culture, dad. My father was also dad to many children, and my mother was mother to many adults, all right? And so that's a way that we because also here's the opposite of that, though. Remember, it takes a village to raise a child, R-A-I-S-E, but if the village does not raise that child will raise the village, R-A-Z-E. Okay? Destruction. That's why it's so important that we not only identify with our own self needs, but our community needs and our nation's needs. We cannot get caught in I encourage us, we don't do dogma here, right? Okay. Well, we encourage us not to be good, don't crawl into a silo and just only take care of our so-called self. It does not work. When we get isolated, we're only taking care of ourselves, we're only taking care of our party, our family, our business, profit over people. We abandon our environment, we will pay for it. It will come back to us. We have to intimately be in connection with our Mother Earth and take care of this beautiful village called Earth. If not, it will come back and be a destructive force versus a good force for good. So, because why? We have choice, right? It's all about choice. And we do know that we have to make a choice, okay, in order to bring about good. Barack Obama made a beautiful, I'm sure he wasn't original, but he says the arc of justice is long and it's bent, but we have to bend it. We have to assert ourselves, we have to affirm ourselves to make and to assure good is happening. But also, let's take a step back also and take a little bit more time on this thing called a child. It takes a child to raise a village. It takes a village to raise a child, okay? Let's look at it metaphysically as well. A child is an offspring, am I correct? A child is something that comes from you. Well, we know metaphysically, a child is anything that comes from us and we outpicture it. It becomes our offspring. Our words that we speak are our children. They are our offspring. Now, what are the offspring of words? Well, as we know, it's a thought, right? And we do know we're going to keep going metaphysically, a little more deeper, right? And for every thought, there's a thinker. We are the thinker who creates the thought that creates the outer experiences in our world. So we have a wonderful opportunity. We can raise our children by raising our thoughts to higher levels of consciousness. We can raise our level rather looking for the dark part of life, the things that are happening out of harmony. You and I can raise our children, our thoughts, to a higher level to co-create a better village. Because we do know if we choose to lay back and allow these children to run wild without higher adult supervision, they will raise our environment. And this is what's happening as part of the contrast in our world today. As one wise man said, evil can only conquer when good people do nothing. Okay? So, we as godlings put out our energy, our thoughts become things, our children. As we do know, the hand that if you feed a child today, that child may be feeding you tomorrow. Isn't that how life works? Okay? So let's care for our children. Let's care for the thoughts that come out of our mouth, because our thoughts become co-creative beings in our environment. Let's care for our environment, because what we produce will one day be feeding us or raising us one way or another. Okay? And it reminds me of a beautiful analogy that I also experienced when, after I had the first birth of my son, and I saw this beautiful analogy of how the human bodies come out of the Mother Earth, literally through their body, the mother's body. And then a few months later, here I was at my cousin's funeral service in Denver, Colorado. And here we were, remember now, when my son was born, there were people standing in front and saying, it's crowning. And I was there, the doctor was there, the nurses, the whole team was there, and we welcomed him into the world, right? Guess what happened with my cousin when he passed away? All the cousins got together and carried his body back to Mother Earth. We are one. We need each other because we are each other. These Kwanzaa principles and all the wonderful universal principles that we practice throughout our universal village called the planet Earth are important and really one and the same. We are one with the highest power. We are one with the God within. We are one with all of creation. We are one, my friends. And where do we start? This suggests that we start with our world. And we say, that's kind of complicated. Let me start with my nation. That's really important. Let's start with our own country called the United States of America. Even that can be somewhat complicated. All right? Okay. let's start with Alaska. We're here in Alaska, wherever state you may be virtually, right? Start with your local community. Alaska, well, that could be vast, especially in Alaska, we have a lot of vast, even geographical territory. How about if we start in Anchorage? Even that could feel somewhat vast, right? How about if we start in my neighborhood, right? As I saw some children the other day, even in the middle of winter, I guess they must be on a family mission of picking up trash, uncovering trash under the snow. And I had my beautiful neighbor next door to me. His grandson was out, and he was asking, can they shovel our front decks off? He was teaching his grandson to honor nature, to be responsible right here in your neighborhood. Because he was doing it not just in the neighborhood. What was he doing when he was teaching his grandson that? He was doing it in his family. How about we start in our families? As a matter of fact, we do know where I'm going, right? How about if we start with ourselves? How are we raising? Let's continue to raise our thoughts. And I know I'm talking to the literary choir here. That's why you're tuned in to Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. Because we have dedicated ourselves to living at a higher level of vibration, to be a positive contribution to the world. And we do know as every time we make a positive movement, it causes a vibration throughout the whole universe, and good and ever increasing good happens. Now, we know where to start, and when we start with ourselves, how do we do it? Well, anybody knows me, know where I'm going. Meditation and prayer. Because what happens when we decide to meditate and we go within, oh, something magical happens. And it's so wonderful and it's so uplifting and so elating that sometimes I wake up in the morning and I say, what good is this? Because I cannot explain. I recall years ago when I was going through a personal depression, and all of a sudden one morning I felt my soul just lifted, and I said, somebody's praying for me. Okay? And later on, weeks later, I found out my sisters had gotten together doing telephone prayers for me. So not only let's pray for, meditate and pray for ourselves, let's meditate and pray for our world, our brothers and our sisters right in the same household and our same neighborhood and in the same village called Earth. Let's pray and I meditate, because something wonderful happens when we do this. And from this, we will find that our soul will begin to express something beyond measure. It happens automatically. Matter of fact, there's 10,000 books or more written about this thing called spirituality and how it transforms your life. It's such a mystical experience. We're still trying to figure out what it's about. They said this thing is like a light. They call it love. They call it the mystic. They call it a mystery, because we cannot figure out what this is. But we do know this, though. From all the ancient teachings, I can simply testify my own personal life. When you pray and when you meditate deeply, something happens, and it's good. So I invite you to join us this Friday morning at 12 noon Greenwich time, which happens to be 3 a.m. Alaska time, and we're going to meditate and pray for our world. And here in Alaska, you're going to experience a unique, unique for some of us, we call it Lectio Divina. We're going to practice a Benedictine method of prayer, and you're going to be invited to participate in it. Okay? We're going to pray for our world. Why? Because we do know it's a choice, and we choose to bring about light and more increasing light in our world. There was a gentleman who had a wonderful son, and he dedicated himself to be a conscious parent of this child. Matter of fact, every day after work, he'd spend time with him, and his son knew this habit, and his son was so thankful and so joy-filled to know his father was on the way home to spend time with him. This particular night, however, his father was so overwhelmed with work, he was trying to figure out a way of keeping his son occupied till he can get to him. And as you heard me say already, he cut the pieces from a magazine of the world like a puzzle. And he gave it to his son, thinking it was going to take a long time for the son to put it together. But lo and behold, in less than half the time he anticipated, his son came back and says, "Dad, I got it together." He says, "Son, surely you could not have done that in a short period of time. Let me go see." He went and looked at it. Surely his son had put the world together in half the time he had anticipated. And he said, "Son, this is amazing. How did you do that?" The son said, "Dad, it was simple. I realized on the back pieces of the world map was a face of a person. it was easier for me to match the eyes and nose up than try to figure out where these states and rivers were. So Dad, I put the person together, and therefore the world came together. Let us pray. Praise be to God. So as we continue to recognize this infinite presence, that which we call by infinite names, because it is infinite and it is mystical to the human mind. It is this something that dwells within us because it is us. Oh, it's us, and it's wonder-filled, and it's wonderful. It is the one itself. May we call it Yahweh, Elohim, Jah, Allah, Jesus the Christ, Father, Mother, God, love, light, the Buddhic consciousness, all one, human minds grappling to understand this wonderful mystery that is the infinite itself. And I am so thankful to know that this infinite, because it is infinite, expresses itself in infinite ways and means. And one of the ways and means it expresses itself is as each individual human being in this wonderful village we call Earth. Oh, I'm so thankful to know this truth. And I'm so thankful to know that we are not only are we one with this and as this infinite, but we also have the co-creative ability to affirm and to speak our good and to expect it to come through outer appearances. Oh, I'm so thankful to know this truth. Therefore, I know that right here and right now, I speak this word for everyone who's present in this room and in this virtual room experience. For we are one, there is no other. That whether we're facing the challenges of desiring a greater alignment with this sense of knowing who we are and what is ours to do, I call forth right now divine right order and a breakthrough in our life, an awareness that goes out and touches each one of our souls, that we are aligned with the truth of who we are and what is ours to do. And I know that there are those of us who are experiencing outer disharmony. Well, I pray and know and speak this truth, that the path is made straight and harmonious, because I know who we are. We are the infinite itself expressing. And I pray this prayer of prosperity upon our physical bodies, this beautiful earth suit that we have co-created for this earth environment, of perfect circulation, assimilation, elimination, strength, life, vitality, and energy, and wholeness for this dash in the date of our time while we're on this planet Earth experience. May we have joy and good health. And I pray this prayer blessed upon our emotions. May we have the emotions of joy and evenness and knowing that all is well. Oh, I give blessings to our intellect and our infinite creativity. Oh, I'm so thankful for the infinite creativity that goes out and creates worlds upon worlds of good and ever increasing good in every capacity. And I know that which appears to be darkness is only the temporary illusion, for there is light, the infinite presence of God. It is here and it is now. Yes, I bless our relationships in every capacity. Our relationship, whether it's in intimate personal relationships, family relationships, employment relationships, romances, circumstances, or finances. All the infinite outpouring of the Holy Spirit, the infinite appearing as. And therefore I declare peace, harmony, fulfillment, and overflowing joy. Joy in the middle of all experiences. And for this I'm so thankful in knowing this truth. It is right here and right now. Right here and right now, the child of my heart cries out, hallelujah, praise be to God. And I know that every cry of the desire of the soul is recognizing that there is a God, there is a presence, that when I reach out and I affirm my good, I create good and ever increasing good. And as it is for me, as it is for everyone in the here and the now. For this, I'm so thankful that it is so. And please join me in affirming. And so it is. And so it is. Ashe.
My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. O Lord my God, you are my strength. You carry me on your wings. You are my life, you know my heart. My soul sings out to you. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. Your constant blessings flow to me like a mighty river to my heart. You are my life, you set me free, and I will love you forever and ever and ever and ever, forever and ever and ever and ever. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you.
And thank you. And now it's time for our opportunity to practice a divine law of circulation. Okay? And we have our baskets. And as usual, what we do here at the Alaska Center of Spiritual Living, we both have a basket for collecting the gifts. We call first fruits in Kwanzaa, agricultural gift, the first fruits, as well as we have a basket to receive a gift of an affirmation. And let me see what mine is today. My energy creates my reality. What I focus on is what I will manifest.
Amen.
All right, and so it is. So please join me in blessing, saying, our divine love through me blessings and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And so it is. Thank you.
I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. I'll always be the perfect me. There's nothing to rearrange. I'm beautiful and capable of being the best me I the birth of peace on earth that only love can bring. I'll help it grow by loving everything. I love myself the way I am, and still I want to grow. But change outside can only come when deep inside I know I'm beautiful and capable of being the best me I can. And I love myself just the way I am. I love myself just the way I am.
So, for our benediction today, as we go on our ways, remembering that it takes a village, right? And I just love the way that Kaleem brought that analogy together, that really the child that we're raising is ourselves, right? Our thoughts, our things. Because when we do that, we are raising this person, we're putting this person all together so that the world comes together. And so I invite you to raise your child. And so that, because it takes the village, it takes, meaning for me, what I took away was that it takes all of ourselves, and it takes the people around us, right? The other people around us who are helping us to raise our village, to raise ourselves. And we can listen just like we did with childlike eyes and childlike hearts to the very love that they are giving us. And so our affirmation for today: I affirm the light within.
I affirm the light within.
In the middle of darkness.
In the middle of darkness.
And so it is.
And so it is.
I shine, we dance, hearts sing when given a chance. Spirit loves to dance.
Yes, don't you want to stand?
Spirit loves to dance.